Let me ask you a simple yet quietly profound question. When was the last time you truly felt your birthday? Not just acknowledged it, not merely replied thanks to a few messages, but genuinely felt it the way you did as a child, when your heart raced with excitement at the sight of balloons, the cake, and everyone's attention focused on you for that one special day. Now, fast forward to adulthood. The same date arrives, but it often passes like any ordinary day. You wake up, perhaps receive a few notifications, maybe a call from your mom, and then life moves on. You might tell people you don't really celebrate, that it doesn't matter, that it's just another day. But is it really? Beneath that casual indifference, behind the shrug, there's often a quiet story waiting to be noticed. People who treat their birthday like any other day aren't cold, unfeeling, or detached. Often, they are among the most reflective individuals, those who have learned to manage their expectations because past disappointments taught them caution. Psychologically, birthdays act as emotional mirrors. They reveal how we feel about life, how we respond to attention, and how comfortable we are with being noticed. When someone says, "I don't care about my birthday," they are often expressing, "I no longer seek validation." In other cases, it might simply mean, "I stopped expecting it." There's an important distinction between emotional maturity and withdrawal, and birthdays often highlight which path a person has taken. Some people genuinely outgrow the excitement of birthdays, not from sadness, but from a sense of peace. They find meaning in everyday routines and quiet moments. For them, joy isn't tied to a specific date. Life itself becomes the celebration. Others experience birthdays differently. For them, these occasions can trigger subtle anxiety, not due to age but because of memories. Birthdays may remind them of times they felt overlooked, or of moments when caring deeply led to disappointment. Instead of thinking, "I hope someone remembers this year," they may say, "It's just another day." Here, indifference often serves as a shield, a protective strategy shaped by past experiences. This is where the psychology becomes particularly interesting. When faced with repeated emotional letdowns, the brain adapts by lowering expectations, a form of emotional self-protection. Reducing anticipation becomes a way to guard against disappointment and preserve emotional well-being. Disappointment teaches us not to hope too loudly. While that might sound sad, it's actually a form of emotional intelligence, a way to maintain balance. The brain favors stability over excitement when past excitement has often led to pain. Here's the paradox. Over time, that same self-protection can quietly dull joy. The heart that once guarded itself becomes overly cautious. You begin to move through life like a guest at someone else's party, polite, observant, but distant. Think about how many people say, "Oh, I don't really do birthdays," with a smile. Yet later they replay the day quietly in their minds, remembering who didn't message, who forgot, who said nothing. We all do it, even those who claim they don't care, because caring is part of being human. Even pretending not to care is a form of caring, just inverted and hidden beneath composure. Psychologists call this avoidant validation behavior. It happens when you convince yourself you don't need recognition, because part of you fears not receiving it. Often it develops in people who once learned that their emotional needs were inconvenient, that it was simpler to need nothing than to risk disappointment again. So, when you meet someone who treats their birthday like any other day, don't assume they're emotionally detached. Sometimes they've simply made peace with disappointment. They've exchanged excitement for control. But control comes with a cost. Beneath the calm surface of "it's just another day" lies a basic emotional truth. We all want to be seen. Not praised, not celebrated with grand gestures, but genuinely seen. Birthdays carry a deep symbolic meaning. They mark existence itself, the one day each year that belongs entirely to you, not for what you've achieved, not for who you're with, but simply because you exist. For many, that reminder brings mixed emotions. Some feel gratitude while others feel loneliness. Some experience it alongside another feeling, like an unusual mix of nostalgia and detachment. Birthdays, whether we consciously notice it or not, are reminders of time. They highlight both how far we've come and how far we haven't. This is a subtle psychological trigger that often goes unnoticed. For some, treating their birthday like any other day is a way to stay emotionally balanced. By keeping it low-key, they hope to prevent the sense of time slipping away from feeling too heavy. There's also a cultural element to this shift. In childhood, birthdays mark social milestones and reinforce belonging. In adulthood, however, that same attention can feel uncomfortable. Many adults quietly navigate the tension between wanting recognition and avoiding appearing needy, and this inner conflict subtly shapes how they approach their own birthday. Beneath the surface, there's another layer. Those who grew up as the responsible one, the strong one, or the giver often internalize a message. Their joy is secondary. They learn to minimize their own needs, becoming the person who remembers everyone else's special days but forgets their own. Over time, birthdays can feel irrelevant. If someone were to plan a big celebration, it might feel awkward or even unnecessary. The truth is that this discomfort isn't humility, it's emotional fatigue. Deep down, many still long to be seen, but not in an overt or attention-seeking way. They crave understanding, someone who recognizes not just their birthday, but who they've been becoming throughout the year. This illustrates a paradox of emotional maturity. The more self-reliant we become, the harder it is to accept love without skepticism. As a result, birthdays often turn into neutral zones where vulnerability is replaced by practicality. We tell ourselves, it's fine. Let's just get through the day. Yet beneath that quiet exterior, the mind processes a complex mix of emotions: nostalgia, longing and reflection, childhood excitement, the quiet sadness of lost connections, gratitude for having made it through, and a gentle longing for simplicity, the kind of effortless joy we once felt. This is what makes this psychology so universal. Even if you feel you've outgrown birthdays, a part of you still remembers what it was like to be celebrated without hesitation. Psychologists also note a layer of existential reflection in adults around their birthdays, known as temporal self-awareness. This is the moment you look back at the person you were a year ago and quietly measure the gap between who you hope to be and who you are now. Sometimes that gap feels uncomfortable. That's why birthdays can feel like mirrors rather than parties. They reveal the quiet distance between expectation and reality. And instead of facing it, people often downplay the day. But this isn't apathy, it's introspection. It's the human mind saying, I need space to process my own timeline. So if your birthday ever feels strange, like you're supposed to feel something you don't, know that it's normal. You're not ungrateful or detached. You're aware that time moves forward, aware that validation feels different now, aware that celebration carries a deeper meaning. Because birthdays are never really about age. They're about meaning. And as we grow older, that meaning becomes more personal. As a child, your birthday was about being recognized by the world. As an adult, it's about recognizing yourself. It's less about gifts and more about presence, less about who attends and more about how fully you've shown up in your own life. That subtle shift explains why we stop making a big deal out of it. Perhaps we've stopped seeking recognition from the world and started finding peace with our own journey. Even in that peace, there's still a quiet hope. I wish someone remembers. This is the paradox of emotional growth. You can feel content yet still crave connection. You can be grounded yet miss the thrill of being seen. And that's human. Treating your birthday as a normal day doesn't mean you're numb. It means you've learned that joy isn't scheduled. It's carried quietly each day through. Here's where it gets deeper. When someone treats their birthday like any other day, they're not rejecting joy. They're redefining it. They're saying, I don't need the world's permission to feel good about being alive. Shifting from external celebration to internal acknowledgement is one of the quietest forms of maturity. Over time, gifts, parties, and posts lose their glow. What matters more is alignment. Did I live this year true to myself? Did I grow? Did I show up when it mattered? For many, birthdays become less about noise and more about reflection. It's not indifference, it's a change in how we define celebration. It may now look like a solo walk, cooking a favorite meal, or a quiet day to think. It's not loud joy. It's the soft joy of solitude. Our culture often misunderstands this, equating silence with emptiness, yet quiet can be sacred. Psychologists call this self-concordant motivation. When your actions match your values, fulfillment comes without external validation. So a quiet birthday is not apathy. It's alignment. People aren't chasing loud, fleeting celebrations. They're embracing something steady, self-sustaining. Yet beneath that calm, an emotional undercurrent remains. Some quietly wish someone would reach out, take the initiative, or acknowledge them without needing to ask. That tension, between wanting to be seen and seeming unbothered, is a deeply human contradiction. We all share it. The desire to be noticed without asking, celebrated without requesting it. Psychologically, this relates to earned secure attachment. Those who experienced inconsistent or conditional affection learned to rely on themselves. But even self-sufficient people carry the hope that someone will notice them. Birthdays then become subtle tests, not announced but observed by the mind. Who remembered? Who reached out? Who sees me when I'm not visible? Even if we convince ourselves it doesn't matter, a small part still checks, and that's not weakness. It's humanity. No matter how self-aware or emotionally mature we become, we carry that longing. It's a reminder that connection and recognition are fundamental parts of the human experience. Birthdays reflect that delicate balance between independence and intimacy, between quiet reflection and the hope of being remembered. Even as we grow more independent, the need for connection never truly disappears. We just become better at concealing it. There's a curious paradox in how people perceive time on their birthdays. For some, it signifies progress. For others, it brings pressure. The brain interprets that pressure differently, based on your emotional history. If past years have been fulfilling, birthdays feel like milestones. But if the previous year was challenging or confusing, a birthday can subtly confront you. A reminder that another year has passed and some questions remain unanswered. This is why many people prefer to blend their birthday into the rest of the week. It's not avoidance. It's self-preservation, a way of saying, I'll reflect when I'm ready. Yet even quietly, the day carries weight. It evokes memory, gratitude, regret, and nostalgia simultaneously. It's as if your subconscious is taking stock of what has changed and what hasn't. In that internal reflection, something meaningful occurs. You begin to see that birthdays, apart from tradition or expectation, are checkpoints of consciousness. They prompt a pause, even briefly, to ask, am I living authentically? Am I still becoming someone I recognize? Do I like the story my life is telling? Treating a birthday like any other day doesn't necessarily mean avoiding these questions. It might mean facing them quietly, privately, without an audience. Not all growth needs to be visible. Some growth is subtle, in the way you respond differently, forgive faster, complain less, or notice beauty in moments once overlooked. Perhaps that is the truest celebration. Finding the extraordinary within the ordinary without needing the day itself to feel exceptional. Still, there is a gentle truth to remember. Even the most self-sufficient people deserve to feel special occasionally, not for validation, but because recognition nurtures those who carry others. People who treat their birthdays like normal days are often the ones who hold space for everyone else's milestones. They are quiet anchors, remembering important dates, checking in first, giving without expecting anything in return. Sometimes these people forget they too deserve light, that it's okay to let others give back, and that joy doesn't need to be earned through constant strength. Even the calmest souls need warmth. Even the most independent hearts need to be seen, not for what they do, but for who they are. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. There's nothing weak in missing it. If you've ever felt that quiet ache on your birthday, the one that doesn't demand attention but still hums beneath your chest, that is your heart reminding you that connection matters. It reminds you that being human is the point of the day. Birthdays aren't about celebrating perfection or achievement. They are about celebrating that you are still here, still learning, still evolving, still seeking to understand yourself and the life you are shaping. Perhaps the psychology of people who treat their birthday like any other day isn't about indifference at all. It might be about integration, the blending of joy and reflection, the understanding that not every feeling needs to be loud to be genuine. Yet even in this quiet, small gestures still matter. One text can brighten someone's day, one voice note, one call, one moment of presence. We often underestimate how much these tiny acknowledgments mean to someone who says, it's just another day. For them, it's not the size of the celebration that counts. It's sincerity. It's a reminder that their quiet existence still has an impact, still matters to someone. Perhaps that is the real psychology here. Deep down, none of us want to be invisible. We simply wish to be loved in a way that resonates with us. Some crave fireworks. Others prefer peace. Some enjoy surprises. Others value consistency. Some thrive in crowds. Others cherish one attentive listener. And that's perfectly fine. There is no single right way to experience your own life. So if your birthday feels ordinary, if you went to work, made your coffee, checked your messages, and carried on, maybe that isn't a problem to fix. Perhaps it's something to honor. It's a statement. My life is already full enough that I don't need one day to validate it. That isn't detachment. It's gratitude in disguise. At the same time, it's okay to feel a little longing. If you miss the excitement you once had, that's natural. Nostalgia for your younger self doesn't mean you've lost something. It's a reminder of the innocence and wonder you felt before life taught restraint. Perhaps the greatest gift you can give yourself on your birthday is remembering the child who once counted down to midnight with bright, hopeful eyes, believing a single day could hold endless magic. That child still exists within you, waiting not for a party but for recognition, waiting for you to quietly say, "I see you. We made it another year." That kind of celebration lingers long after the candles are gone. So if your birthday ever feels like just another day, don't feel guilty. It isn't emptiness. It's growth. It's understanding that meaning doesn't need noise. And yet if someone reaches out, let them say your name. Let them remind you that you matter. Because you do, especially on days that feel ordinary. And even when you treat your birthday like any other day. Maybe that's the most beautiful part of growing up. Realizing celebration doesn't always require confetti. Sometimes it only requires awareness, a quiet moment, a deep breath. You don't have to make a wish. You already are one, a living continuation of every version of yourself that made it this far. And that alone is worth celebrating, quietly or not, every year.